Hello and welcome in Expose podcast. Today we have very special guest, Jen Sims. We are going to welcome Jen in a while. It's a beautiful day in Southern California. It's 21st of December, one of the shortest days of the year. Especially now, before the end of this year, our guest is very special as well. She is a bestseller author. She just published her book with another 15 authors. Hear her roar. She's also a Reiki master. She is as well coach and strong advocate for survival. So we are very excited to have Jen Sims. She's going to join us in a while. Hello, skill empath. Jen. All right, Jen. Hello, I will invite you to join. How are you guys doing? Where are you writing from? You can write your country in the comments. You can make any questions to Jen. All right, we should be live right now with Jen. Hello, hi Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming to our podcast, Expose. I just was mentioning that you are, since a few days, a new bestseller author. Woohoo! Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's very exciting.
How do you feel? Is your first book, is that right?
It is my first book, my first published work. Very near and dear to me, being that it's so personal. It feels very vulnerable, but at the same time, it's very exciting and it's very necessary to get this information out.
Yes, you are a strong advocate for survivals and also for the healing process, right? With your social media and also your Reiki master, I was mentioning, how did your story start and why did you decide to be in this business?
Thank you, Anastasia. So, in the book, this is the book, Hear Her Roar. So she's so beautiful. That cover is so powerful. I
Yeah, is
decided,
that lion and a woman? Is that
yes,
right?
yes. The artwork is so powerful. But back to my why for wanting to do this project. When I had the opportunity to share my story in the book, I knew I had to do it. When I was going through this experience, I felt very alone, and I never felt that I was heard throughout that process, in all the different systems. I didn't get a lot of support from the judicial system, or, even people that knew me well couldn't really believe that, this was true and what was happening. Because I did, I think, a fairly good job of keeping it behind closed doors. So I wanted to do the book just so that other women who go through these experiences don't feel so alone, and they know that there's healing and there's hope on the other side of it. And that's kind of how I got into energy medicine and holistic healing, was through that own experience of mine, and reaching out to mainstream medicine for help, and not, again, really feeling seen or heard. And the solutions that were offered to me are the conventional solutions of, here's a prescription, take this drug. And I don't judge anyone who chooses to go that route. Sometimes that's necessary for certain people. But for me, I knew that that wasn't what was going to heal me. I wasn't looking for a Band-Aid. I was looking to actually heal. And I then kind of started searching for more holistic ways. And it was just one piece of the puzzle, you know, that got added a piece at a time. But eventually, I found Reiki medicine, crystals, and meditation. And I started doing these holistic modalities to heal myself. And then it was like, wow, this is so powerful. Other people need to know this is available. So that's when, you know, I founded Zen by Jen Healing. And I started taking those modalities and sharing them with others so that they can see that there are very, very powerful ways to heal that are no side effects, very inexpensive, and, you know, albeit not quite mainstream, these remedies are very powerful and they do work.
Thank you, Jen, for sharing that. Absolutely. I believe in alternative medicine, especially as I am studying psychology right now, like pharmacology, part of my course. Most of those pharmacologists, they start working after 3-4 weeks, right? Because it takes for the brain, for the synapses, neurons to really adjust. And it's all about those, you know, dopamine, serotonin. So, and there's so many side effects. So looking for alternative medicine is a way to at least have less side effects and see what works for you, right? So you said something powerful I wanted to mention, that I share my story, and some of my friends and family didn't know that it was going on behind the doors. And that's something what I want to bring here, because I think it's so many people, audience can relate, I can relate. Why there is so much shame and guilt? Why there is why we don't share our stories with families? Why there is this isolation? And you are right now actually breaking that, right? You're creating this movement, sharing your story. But let's get to the point of where it's coming from, that silent movement.
Well, like you said, Anastasia, I think there's just so much shame around it. And that is really projected onto us from society, in my opinion. And, you know, we are conditioned to keep up these social norms, and we're conditioned to keep up appearances. So that puts a lot of pressure on us to, you know, have our lives look a certain type of way to other people. And the fact that, you know, when you're going through these situations, you feel kind of alone and helpless. So it makes it really difficult to reach out. So those shame stories just keep coming up and coming up. But I believe that the root of that is really what's kind of projected onto us from society. And like I said, trying to paint this picture of what life should look like. And if your life doesn't fit that picture, there's something wrong with you, or, you know, you're failing in some type of way. So I think that failure and that shame are connected, you know, feeling like you're not meeting expectations for what you should be doing or what your life should look like, then that shame comes from there, like, because you feel like you're failing.
I love what you said. Thank you so much. There's a great book from A Man Looks for Meaning, Arthur James. It's about a man who left Auschwitz, and how he actually describes going through the hardest moment in his life in that Auschwitz concentrate, right? I mean, what's the name of that place? And how he realized that he has the power of mind to decide how he's going to feel. That he realized all the pain from outside, shame and guilt, right? Because there are terrific things going on outside. But then he realized
actually I am in charge of what I feel, what I focus. And that's something what I see in common with you, that you decided to break that mental prison. Is that what I understand?
Very much. And I go into that a little bit in the book where I talk about that moment where I did leave, I had reached out to my family physician, went in for my appointment, shared everything I was going through tears. And, my desperation was just overflowing. And then, the solution was several prescriptions that were handed to me for anti-anxiety medications and antidepressants, which, like I said, I don't judge anyone who feels like that is what they need to do, but I knew for me that wasn't a long-term solution. I don't want to be on medications for the rest of my life. So I left out of that appointment feeling really discouraged. But I just decided, you know, I kind of drove home in this fog and, got home and it was like I didn't even remember the drive home. And then I just decided in that moment, like, I'm done with suffering. I'm not going to suffer anymore. I'm going to take my power back. I'm going to take charge of this situation, and I'm not going to suffer. I choose not to suffer. So I kind of had that light bulb moment where it was like, I have a choice in this. Instead of that victim mentality of this is happening to me and I have no control over it. I just decided that this is my life. I have control over my choices and I can decide how I'm going to feel. And from that place, I kind of turned the page. And that was really day one of my healing journey.
Wow, it sounds like a movie, like that moment when you realize, you got those prescription in your hands, and there was some voice in Jen in your heart, or it was like intuition or something saying, "Hey, I don't agree for that," or what was? How would you, for somebody who's watching this Instagram live or podcast, and they are in their relationship, they still didn't get to the point to leave, what would you advise to them? They still didn't get that voice in their heart. This is where I need to live, where I need to take care of myself, and maybe try something different, maybe alternative medicine.
Well, anyone that's going through this situation, whether you're in the middle of it, maybe it's happening to you now, for those people, women or men, I would say it's time to love yourself. So just make the decision right now that you're going to love yourself and you're going to do everything from that place of self-love and make every decision from that place of self-love and just start there. And like I said, a lot of it for me was knowing, like you said, intuitionally or higher power, that inner voice, knowing that modern medicine route of pharmacology was not going to be the solution for me. So if you're in it, make that decision to love yourself first. Reach out for help. That's step one, whether it's calling the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence hotline, or reaching out to a friend or a family member or a coworker or a next door neighbor, anybody. Just don't go it alone. You have to reach out for help, and that doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you strong. And that's another stereotype in the States here in the US, is that if you ask for help, that's, kind of like a weakness, when it actually takes an incredible amount of strength to say, I need help.
So where is coming from that mindset of asking for help and feeling, this is hard? Is it coming from the ego or from the...
I think it probably does come from the ego. And like I said, so much conditioning.
condition?
We are told these stories from the time that we're little of what life is supposed to look like, And so when you have that kind of conditioned response to think a certain type of way, And yeah, I agree. It comes from the ego. It's that ego way of thinking where the spirit says, you know, we are all one. And if I'm going to heal me, that takes, you know, that connection to everything else, takes that connection to source, and then it kind of trickles down from there. So we have to really pluck that ego thinking out and go, this is not something that is going to be solved, you know, by suffering in silence. You have to speak.
I love that.
And again, that kind of goes back to just making that decision to love yourself, and from there moving forward.
There's a comment from Living the Vision. You are not alone. There's help there. And they're sending you hearts, and then education. And then another comment from Living the Visions. Education is the key to take your power back. That's right. Education, that's what the book, the Hear Her Roar movement hashtag. All right. I think it's another author, right? Living the Visions.
Yes, that is one of my co-authors, Chris Williams. She's amazing. What she's doing with Living the Vision, she's really advocating, and she really helps women in their healing process. So she could be a very valuable resource to those who need help. And I just encourage anyone to reach out who's, you know, maybe watching this or listening. If you do need help, reach out. Direct message me, send me an email. Any of us who are in the book, we're all available for anyone who needs help. And you're not alone. We are in this together. And education is the key. That's one of the reasons why, you know, we put the book together. It's one of the reasons why we started the hashtag Hear Her Roar movement. It really is a call to action. So wherever you are in the world, in your neighborhood, whatever little bubble that you live in, what can you do to help this cause? Whether that's purchasing the Hear Her Roar book and donating it to the local women's center, or, you know, domestic violence outreach programs in your own neighborhood. We really need to get this information into the hands of the people who need it the most. The book is a story of reclamation. It's 15 stories of reclamation. So it really is a huge source of hope and inspiration for the women who are in it, who are going through it, who are navigating it as we speak. You know, there's life on the other side of this. And it's that process, you know, every journey starts with one step. So the most important thing is to just take that first step and reach out and ask for help.
Wow. So how many stories? 15 stories.
15 stories. Yeah. So I talk a lot about the 14 other women in this book. You know, each one of them has a different perspective and a different story, but they're all just the most incredible, strong, amazing women. And I'm inspired by them and their strength, their courage to share their stories. And, you know, just to, it's a very humbling experience, you know, to be a part of this. And I feel so incredibly grateful that I was able to have this opportunity and share my story with these other women who are just amazing.
And I read, actually, there was 20 more authors, right?
Yeah, Bridget Holder with Art of Grace Publishing, our publisher, who, you know, this was her vision to put this book together and bring it to life. There were actually, I believe, 22 other women,
right,
that she reached out to, who had started to take the project on, was going to do the book, and then actually backed out because of the fear surrounding it. You know, the fear of what's going to happen when that other party, you know, hears this, which is a legitimate concern. You know, you have to make sure that you're keeping yourself safe, and, you know, you're not going to put yourself in any compromising positions. But I think the fact that those women, you know, wanted to speak out, but ultimately we're too fearful to do so. That in and of itself speaks to how important it is for us to actually do this book, because we need to take that, we need to take that fear away. And the more that women speak up and join our voices, the more it will empower other women to do the same thing. It's got to start somewhere. So I'm just, like I said, so proud and humbled to be a part of this sisterhood where we've really all joined each other's hand and we're standing together and saying, no more. This isn't acceptable. It's never going to be acceptable. Not yesterday, not today, not tomorrow. And it really is time to stop. And it's not going to if we don't speak up and we don't speak out and we don't start educating people as to how these things start, And that's a big thing of what you're doing with your documentary and, sharing all these different perspectives from women and men and, the red flags, what did they miss? And, just what you're doing with your documentary is amazing because it's that key, it's that education part. That's that key to.
Thank you. Thank you for being also part of the documentary and sharing your story as well there. So I would like to ask you for your intention for somebody who will read your book. I mean, read your and 14 and others authors' book. What was your intention? What do you want the audience, people who read, readers, to remember? And also, how do you want them to connect with you through? If you can share your social media as well.
Sure, thank you. So my intention for the book is kind of twofold. So the first part would be to help anyone who's going through a domestic violence situation currently to have the hope and the courage to get out of it. And secondly, for anyone who can't relate to that experience, to just be educated to know that these things are happening, to destigmatize it. So don't ever judge a woman. Don't ever say, oh, just leave. Why doesn't she just leave? Because it's never that easy. If it were that easy, of course, people would be doing it in droves. It's never as easy as just leaving. So if you're in that situation, the intention is to give them the hope and the courage to change their life, change their reality as they know it. And then secondly, to educate people who don't have any experience or can't relate to this topic to be less judgmental, to be more compassionate and understanding, to be more willing to lend a helping hand versus being judgmental and just saying, well, just leave, or something to that effect. So that's my, the way women can reach out to me. You can reach out to me either through my Facebook page, Zen by Jen Healing. That's my business page. Or like I said, direct message me through my personal page, Jen Sims on Facebook. My website is zenbyjenhealing.com. And my email address is jen@zenbyjenhealing.com. So any of those ways I can be reached. And what I'm doing with my business is I mainly help women to heal trauma. So we're using energy medicine, Reiki, meditation, healing crystals, mantras, essential oil, aromatherapy. I have many tools in the toolkit that I've used personally and that I've used with other women and some men too. But in the last year, I've really focused on just helping women because this cause is so close to my heart and there's such a need. So I have a lot of tools in the toolbox for anyone who really is looking to heal trauma and not just Band-Aid it, who really wants to pluck these things out, reprogram yourself, get rid of all that, all the old, bring in the new, especially, we're winding down 2021. We're getting ready to turn the calendar and start a new year. So there's never been a better time to take control of your life and empower yourself to heal naturally. And that's what I can help people to do.
I think there will be many people in the audience who will who would like to connect with you, we'll leave links to your website and to your social media as well. I would love to, for anybody who's joining now, just let me see. We have somebody joining right now. Jen is a coach. She's a bestseller author. She's Reiki master. She's a mentor, and she's advocate for survivors. And I would like to ask you, Jen, what was your biggest insight in writing the book Hero Her, or what was your aha moment as you were writing as well with another 13, 14 women? And you, I don't know how long it took actually to write that book, but I imagine it was a process, right? So could you take us through how your mentality and your healing and transformation changed since that until now?
Well, thank you. That's a great question. It was a very healing experience for me. You think, oh, I'm healed, but healing always happens in layers. So as I started to write my story, it brought up a lot. You're writing it, and as the words are coming out, these pictures replay in your mind, and it's almost like it's happening to you all over again. So for me, there were many times I had to stop. I had to just stop. And I had to go back to that self-care. I had to meditate. I had to do the energy medicine. I had to, just kind of go back and heal that layer again. These layers would come up throughout the process, and I'd have to go, oh, okay, there it is. It is a lot easier for me at this point because I can kind of tag it. I know exactly where it's coming from, so I can tag it and I can transmute rather quickly now. But there were several times throughout the writing that I really had to stop and ground myself and kind of go, okay, this is coming up, and work through it, and then go back and write some more. But what made me just press on was knowing that I was going to impact the lives of women everywhere, and knowing how desperately women need to hear these stories. They're not alone, to know they're not alone. They can heal. There's people out here that will help you. There's remedies out here. And like I said, I can't say it enough times. The most important thing is to just ask for help. Take that first step. Every journey starts with just that one step. So I just can't keep saying that enough. So for me, that was the big motivator for just pressing through, because it was very difficult. It was very emotional, and it brought up so many things. And there was excitement, but there was also fear and a little bit of dread. And it was like, oh my gosh, I've never been this vulnerable before. I'm such a private person. And so for me, it was really hard to just put myself out there completely for the whole world to know, my story. But like I said, it was so necessary, and I just felt 100%. I just kept focusing on how many people this is going to help. And that gave me the gumption to just keep pressing through and get it done. So it was a challenging experience. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but I'm really happy that I was able to press through and get it done.
And what's the feedback from people? Is that what you imagine before releasing it?
Yeah, we've been getting incredible feedback. We have multiple 5-star reviews on Amazon. There's been, lots of women who are saying, oh my gosh, this made me cry, but the reviews have been really amazing. So we are getting really good response. And, here where I live locally, the grassroots effort, the hashtag Hear Her Roar movement hasn't stopped just because we launched the book. It was actually just the beginning of our movement. So we're just trying to take that momentum into each one of our, where all of us are all across the globe. So each one of us are using the movement to promote locally where we live efforts to advocate for women. So for me, I'm working with the Women's Center for Advancement here in my hometown. And there'll be some projects that'll start in January with them to just continue to advocate for women and bring more awareness, bring education, because education is the key to eradicating this. So we need to We just need to continue to create these opportunities like we're doing here to have discussions around this topic, around the challenges that people face who are dealing with this, and the solutions that are available.
I feel that I talked to totally different person, Jen. Like when I can compare the chapter I was reading, and I still going through because of reading the book is a little triggering, as for me as a survivor as well.
Yeah.
But it's also helpful. So it's great that you mentioned that it was triggering for you as well to write it. I mean, because of it's human. We are all humans. We can heal, but still have triggers, right? Because of just different layers. So I'm glad that you didn't stop. That you are a champion. That you didn't quit in the middle. Even was hard many times. Question if you have enough guts to finish it, right? And actually you did, and so I really admire that. I really admire that you didn't quit in the middle.
Thank
you. Your resistance and strength.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it is very triggering, and so for someone like you who's experienced, had your own experiences with this, it can be triggering, but the ultimate result will be, hopefully by the time you're done reading the book, you'll feel very happy and inspired, and it will give you more fuel to continue doing the work that you're doing.
That's the most important part, right? That there's that Phoenix effect, right? That we see you before and after, and that gives you this power that you actually can feel, that energy coming from those stories, right? For yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we're creating a vortex here. We're creating a very healing vortex, and that energy is going out all across the world. And the hashtag Hear Her Roar movement is an international effort with a grassroots reach, like I said, because each of us are, working our campaigns locally in the neighborhoods that we live in. But it's exciting.
Oh, I lost you, but you are back. It is exciting, right? So is there anything I didn't ask you, would you like to add? And I will repeat my question, which I asked before. What was your biggest insight also? Your biggest lesson, maybe this way?
Well, I think that the biggest lesson for me was just, it kind of goes back again to where it all came from for me, where it originated. And I talk about it. I don't talk about it a lot in the book, but I do mention the fact that I came from a domestic violence household. So for me, realizing that the root of it all started there, so that in order to heal for me personally, I had to go back to that. I had to go back to that root cause. I had to go back and heal my relationships with my parents, and kind of work through all the childhood stuff. So that was the biggest aha moment for me, was just seeing how clearly it all, the point of origin was, like where it all started. So that was the hugest thing that I took away from kind of doing the writing. Gives you that, outside looking in type perspective, you kind of get to look at it from a different angle. So for me, that was the biggest kind of epiphany, was just like, wow, this really did all stem from that childhood trauma. And, had I been able to get to a place of more awareness earlier in my life, maybe I could have prevented, going down that path that I did, and kind of marrying the wrong person. But it is what it is at this point, and I have no regrets. I have, a lot of wonderful memories, and I have wonderful children, and, so for those reasons, it was a blessing. but you have to go back and kind of do that self-analysis, and writing the book helped me to do that. So that was probably my biggest aha, was just like the clarity it gave me, kind of seeing the whole picture from the outside. And it was kind of like, wow, there was so much clarity that it brought to me.
Right, breaking that generational trauma, and also that fact that your children and their children will never go through that because of you already broke it. And as you broke that, generational trauma you mentioned, right? Like your parents, that blockage is healed. I mean, it's gone. So
Well, that's
you're
the
bringing.
hope. That's the hope. There's challenges. My children are all grown now, so there are some challenges that they're having to deal with because of the things that because of the traumas that they experienced in their childhood around it. So that's the heartbreaking part. But again, there's really you can't go back. You can only go forward. So the best thing to do is just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And the more conversations that I can have with them that are open and honest around it, that'll help them have that awareness so that they can, heal and work through what they need to. That way, like you said, it doesn't continue to. I think my internet's getting a little shaky. Sorry.
So I heard the message that that right now with that movement you hope to actually stop that generational trauma. So is there anything I didn't ask you, Jen? Would you like to add, or anything what comes to your mind, or about the book, about yourself and your projects for the next year? I know you mentioned something, your project for schools before, as we were chatting privately.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about, is trying to get this. The program that I'm working on is Dating 101. And so the goal of that is to help young people starting at age 12, educating them on what healthy dating is and emotional intelligence. So I feel, especially in the United States, and it's probably, beyond that, but here where I live in the States, men and young boys, they're told men don't cry and things like that. And there's a lot of stereotypes that go along with what a man should be and what a man shouldn't be. And I believe it's this proliferation of men don't cry and men don't feel their emotions, and that whole line of thinking that is creating this problem where things bubble up, so they're 12 years old. They don't, they've never been taught how to deal with their emotions. They've never been taught emotional intelligence. So then they're 15, and then they're 18, and then they're 20. And, so then all of a sudden they're in a relationship and they're frustrated and they don't know how to deal with those frustrations. They don't know how to label their feelings. They don't know how to speak about their feelings. They don't feel safe speaking about their feelings. They don't want to be perceived as weak for speaking about their feelings. And so it breeds this perfect environment for domestic violence or domestic abuse, because they're so frustrated, they don't know how to deal with it. And then it bubbles out in these unhealthy ways. So if we can go back, we can start educating our young men and women from that young age, 12, 14, and through high school. We can give them the tools that they need to know, like I said, emotional intelligence, how to deal with your emotions, how to process them. For young women, we want to teach them the red flags, the signs to look for, make sure that they really understand what self-love is and, what self-worth is. And this is where we'll really make the biggest impact in reducing the incidence of domestic violence, because it is so prevalent. And I'll just share with you really quickly some statistics. And these are statistics from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. So in the United States, it's 20 people per minute are physically abused. So that's men and women. 20 per minute. That's a lot.
Oh,
a lot.
20 per minute. Wow. So it's like
so that's
3 people.
directly off the National Coalition for Domestic Violence website. So 1 in 7 women are physically abused by their intimate partner. 1 in 4 that's brutally assaulted. So, you know, things that send women to the hospital. 1 in 7 women are stalked to the point of fearing for their lives. And of those, 45% will end up losing their jobs over this.
Wow.
So, you know, these statistics really are shocking when you start looking at the prevalence of how common this really is. So if it's this common, why are, you know, again, why is nobody talking about it? It's this ugly little secret that gets swept under the rug because society tells us, you know, your life's supposed to look perfect on the outside, or, you know, just there can be so many reasons. It probably depends, you know, individually what the reasons are for keeping it behind closed doors. But, you know, the statistics are out there showing how prevalent it is. And the scary part is those are just the statistics. So those are the ones that are being reported. How many women are suffering silence? They're not reporting it. It's, you know, there's a lot that goes unreported. So we're just going off what is reported, and that's where the statistics are compiled. And it's scary how prevalent this is. And it's become worse since the beginning of the lockdown with the pandemic. You know, now women are being locked in the home with their abusers, and they're even more isolated. So it makes it that much more difficult to get support. So I just wanted to share the statistics for those who don't know how common this actually is. Like I said, education is really the key. So I talked about my grassroots efforts here to work with the young people, and I'm working with the WCA here locally with their education specialists just to try to get more, you know, more programs out there that will lend support.
What kind of help and support do you need as you're developing those projects for anybody who will watch it and would like to support you?
Yeah, well, the help that I need is just people who are willing to share, you know, people who are willing to share information. So I'm putting together like I said, the Dating 101 Healthy Resources. So it's basically going to be, it'll be a PDF, or it can be, you know, something that you can message me and I can send you the link, and then you can download it and you can share it with whoever, whenever. It'll be free, and it'll just be a resource, you know, for, you know, just basic information on what healthy dating is, and, you know, things like that. So eventually, as I go through, I hope to be able to go into schools directly and, you know, teach it directly in person, and provide the worksheets and that. But I'm not there yet, but it will be, hopefully that'll be happening this coming year.
So anybody who's interested, who can know schools which can participate, organization, that's how you can connect with Jen. We are going to leave your social media links. Thank you so much for joining our podcast. Thank you for sharing your story, and also for designing a course which is going to prevent domestic violence, abuse for teenagers, for young adolescents. And that's where it all starts. Well, a little before, but that's what we can actually influence, right? So thank you so much, Jen, for being on the show, for your time, and for this year, for being shining your light, and wishing you all the best for 2021 and your projects. Keep us updated, and we'll be happy to share the links for the program you just mentioned. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching the replay. Please be sure to follow Jen on social media and contact Jen. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jen. Bye-bye.